And I think she's shown she's capable of more. And I think the person I'm going to compare it to, which I don't think she's on this level, but Stove God Cooks.
Wait, what? What the fuck? See, if anybody's gonna try to tell you Miley Cyrus isn't hip hop, okay, we're talking about Mike Will Made It, Wiz Khalifa, and Stove God Cooks.
Oh my gosh. Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how the album fits into the context of that artist's career. For everyone watching on YouTube, we appreciate you. Like this video, subscribe to us, and of course, leave us a comment. Let us know how wrong we always are. My name is Adriel Smiley, aka AdrielSmiley.com, aka Adriel Smiley Official, aka The Godfather, aka Champion Scribe. And we're here with His Royal Highness, aka The Bunny, aka No Longer a Munch, King Grant.
Welcome back, people. It's Album Mode. This time we're reviewing Miley Cyrus and her latest album, Something Beautiful. Miley Cyrus, probably one of the most millennials on planet Earth.
That's a sentence, yes.
I think she is one of those people that anybody who is between the age of 28 to about 40 now has an opinion, has memories, has pity, sometimes, a little bit, I would say so, and some anger. Mm-hmm. There was anger back in the day around Miley Cyrus and her, let's say, antics.
Mm-hmm.
Miley Cyrus has dropped her latest album, again, Something Beautiful, an album I was looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking forward to. 50% of this podcast was looking forward to this album. I can't say much about the other 50%, but this is somebody that I've been watching basically since we've reviewed Plastic Hearts, which was in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
where we were pleasantly surprised by that album. I remember, I think I gave it a 7. You gave it like a 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been looking forward basically to her work ever since because I thought she had turned a corner artistically.
I actually agree with you. I think that was kind of the part where we were like, is Miley Cyrus getting better
Like,
musically?
is she a real musician?
Yeah, I think she was more celebrity than musician for quite some time, at least felt that way. And then let's not forget Endless Summer Vacation.
Right.
Reviewed that as well. Yeah, you gave it a 7. I gave it a 6.5.
See what I'm saying?
And I think Miley Cyrus is an interesting person because you're right. Maybe one of the most famous millennials there is. But something we don't have as much anymore is like someone who, and it's funny because I think she's moved past and no one calls her this, but like a quote unquote Nepo baby because she is the daughter of singer Billy Ray Cyrus.
Right.
And it's like she's gotten so far that we don't even mention that at all.
Yeah, she's also eclipsed him, I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Her artistry and just her fame has eclipsed him at this point. Maybe not to our parents. Maybe that Billy Ray will always be Mr. Achy Breaky Heart. But to, I think, a millennial or just like a young person today, Billy Ray Cyrus is Miley's dad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Versus Miley being like Billy Ray's daughter.
Yeah, and I of course, like, she's gotten so far past Hannah Montana that it's something.
Those are the days.
Those were days. Yes, those
are the days.
Those were days.
Did you watch Hannah Montana?
Of course, I watched Hannah Montana.
So those were the days.
Those were days. Yes, those were days. But I think she's moved so far past that in a way that almost didn't seem possible at that time. So I want to give her credit. This is her 9th studio album. I thought of a couple other 9th studio albums because we're in a place with this show where we review some artists, a couple times. Mm-hmm. They're getting deep in their catalog of albums, and even making it to 9 albums is an accomplishment within itself. And I think she's at a place with her 9th album where, of course, she had a huge hit on her last project, one of her biggest songs ever, which is crazy to have that on your 8th album. But everything is gravy at this point. Like, this album does not make or break her career. I think it's like, if it's good, we're happy. If it's not, nothing changes. And I think there aren't that many artists we review that are in that position at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think her starting point allowed her to be like this. Again, Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter, and also the Hannah Montana thing. So there was already the platform, like the fame element that most musicians also have to manage along with their artistic contributions to the world. She kind of already had that pillar built, and then she's just working on the other pillar to make sure that it matches the same height of the other one. And I think that she has been able to do that. I think that she's definitely been able to do that early in the career. When I'm talking 2010s, it was a little squirrely.
I actually disagree. I think the fame probably was a hindrance at some point because
yes, it was. That's true.
You can't flop being that famous. But I think there's a point, and I said before we started recording, is she's almost so famous that it's like what she's famous for is inconsequential. Like she's just a figure in the world.
Right.
Is going to be here. But I think back to some of her past albums, like she has had a ton of huge hits, like some of the biggest songs of the thing. I talk about The Climb, one of my dad's favorite songs. Don't even ask me why that is. We Can't Stop, Wrecking Ball,
right.
Party in the USA. So it's like she has generational hit records before she even got here. And so I think that is more, I think of the fame is one thing, but there are plenty of people who are as famous as her who don't have these generational hit songs. Like Party in the USA, you can still play anywhere.
Yeah, my thing was more of you can be like a hit, like a singles artist or an albums artist, and it was looking like she was very much a singles artist. That we were like, is it serious? Is she a serious artist? Was a serious question for, I would say, a long time, actually.
And then The Climb changed all of that. Wrecking Ball is part of that too. But I like that you mentioned that because in this late stage of her career, late stage, she's 32 years old.
But ninth album,
she has become more of an album artist. And I think like that's why I mentioned of this album and her music is almost inconsequential because there's nothing writing on this. It's not going to make or break her career. The hits are already there. All you can give us now is a good album. So I'm happy that we're kind of in that place with her. Two notable ninth albums. I was doing some research. I said, what are some ninth albums that are notable by some artists? Because 9 is like far in the list. I know last week we talked about Common with his 6th album, which felt late in his career for that. These are 2 albums that are still very popular today. One, The Beatles by The Beatles.
Okay.
Now, different time, they were releasing an album. It felt like
every 6 months?
Every 4 weeks. So they got to 9 basically within a year. But this one is an album that is absolute classic, one of the best-selling albums of all time, Rumors by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh.
So I think this is interesting because 2 different artists when it comes to the 9th album from those 2. But she's in a spot where, again, this 9th album is almost gravy for whatever she's going to accomplish. It is going to be accompanied by a feature film set to release in June.
I know.
We've heard so many things from artists this year about accompanying albums, feature films.
Yeah, what's going on?
So it's all lies at this point. I think Miley's telling the truth, but we've been lied to enough on this podcast. So we'll see when it actually happens. She described this record as a visual album centered around the theme of healing.
Okay.
So, you know, we love some healing. We're a healed podcast, non-toxic. So I love to see that.
Says the 2 people whose favorite artists are Brett Faiyaz and The Weeknd.
Non-toxic podcast. And then executive produced with her and Sean Everett, who's, you know, some CanCon. Let's put some CanCon in there.
Okay.
Canadian engineer and producer. He's worked with Alabama Shakes, one of your favorites, Casey Musgraves, The War on Drugs, The Killers. So just kind of put that influence on the project. And then before we get into production, did they get it right with the singles? Now, for anyone who missed it, the singles were End of the World, Prelude, Something Beautiful, and More to Lose. Did they get it right with the singles?
I think that... Wait, what was the second one? So give it to me again.
End of the World, Prelude, Something Beautiful, and More to Lose.
I don't... maybe. Here's the reason...
That's a confident answer.
Here's the reason why I say maybe, because I think there are better songs than those ones. Those are just the most palatable. Like, I think End of the World is probably one of those, like, her most steady, just like center of the road tracks. Nothing inoffensive, very pop-centric, very simplistic. Like, even the way that she is singing is very top 40. So I get it. But I'm like, there's actually more interesting songs that are going on, but they're maybe not as radio friendly. That's probably my answer.
I want to say they did get it right with End of the World. End of the World just screams lead single to me.
Let's play it. Getting on your pop rock, pop, not even pop rock, your pop country.
For sure. Like when you go into Costco to get your hot dog, like this will be playing while you're in line, 100%. So
the songwriting for that song is really good, though.
Yeah,
even though we are kind of killing it right now.
But I don't think it's a bad song.
No, me neither.
And I think like we said this in the last review of her, she is a good songwriter.
Yes,
like, underrated historically how good a songwriter she is.
We said that on the last review.
We did say on the last review.
Wow.
And so I feel like these pop songs like End of the World have people forgetting that. Like these songs, you hear them and it doesn't give you songwriter. So I felt like End of the World was a good choice, especially because the sound on this project, there are some big songs. I'll say like...
Yeah, she likes a big song, bro.
Yeah, she loves an anthem, even though it's kind of weird because she's not touring. So
I know,
it's like,
that's so weird. She's dropping Party in the USA and she's like, I'm over it. I can't really tour anymore or whatever.
Yeah, so she loves these big anthemic records. Is there one that kind of stands out to you from the project of like, this is the best of that group?
Ooh, hold on. I'm trying to make sure that I say the right song here because there's a handful of them. I think Reborn.
Yes.
Reborn is probably my favorite song on the entire project.
Wow. I could see that. I can see that.
Because I love the production style. It's an 80s like revivalist track. And I also like the doubled vocal, or even doubled is maybe light. There's just like a mountain of vocals stacked on top of each other. And I liked the hook, like even though it's simple, let's be reborn, right? But then she has all these different versions of herself speaking in the background. That's probably my favorite, because then there's even that section at the end where it transitions into a different song. I think that's like it's a 6-minute long song.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting sonic dynamics that are happening where it becomes much more dramatic, becomes very big. The song overall is just huge. Lights, like I can imagine it on tour, even though she's not touring. I can imagine on tour just lights flashing everywhere. The lights are flashing upwards, are flashing towards her, and it's very dramatic. I would say that's probably my favorite of like the big songs that she does.
That song feels like it would be in an early 2000s movie.
Yeah.
Like if you can picture the scene, for anyone who knows those movies, that era, that's where I can see that. Golden, Burning Sun.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about that. I have my own notes, but I wanted to know what you think of that song. What would you call that sound?
Well, I mean, that feels like a country song to me. I'm trying to think. I'm like, it feels like a country song to me, a country pop song, which is her roots, really. She's like, die in the wool type of country person. So I think that to me, it's a country song. I'm trying to think maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an artist to compare it to, but I can't really think of somebody right now. I love her belting vocals. I think that it's a very good track in the sense that it's really accomplishing that expansiveness again of her songs. Again, she loves a big vocal, big songs all the time. So I think that is really working. But it feels like a country track to me. Why do you say that? Why do you ask?
Because I think that her vocals are so separate from the production.
Oh,
like
okay.
Her vocals don't give country at all on this record.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like production wise, you're right. It does feel kind of like modern country pop in a way. Maybe not as modern because it's not that, I guess, hip hop influence that a lot of country has right now. But I think that her vocals on this record is so much what she does all over this album. Like she loves that like crescendo, that bellowing, and why I brought up this song because it feels like no matter what the production is, she couldn't get in that bag. Like there's nothing stopping her. I call this American Idol music. Like this is a song that American Idol, and it's obviously I know it still comes on, but in its prime, this was like I'm gonna be singing "Golden Burning Sun" by Miley Cyrus. Right. So that's what I realized from her is like I don't want to say it's kind of a cliche from her in a sense because I think she still does a good job of it, but this album, more than any of the last two, you see she really, really, really is dying on that hill of like that anthemic singing. Like no matter what's going on in the production, she's like, no, you're gonna hear me belt.
Yeah, I think one good example, or one song that's a good example of them meshing together is what was it? Every Girl You Ever Loved. Okay.
What a song.
That first of all, that with the guitar, I love that part. Like that's even at the end of the song, I'm still making that sound. I think that is probably like 80s, like an 80s synth pop.
Yeah.
But again, huge. Like she's just I think maybe she's just definitely an artist one would study just to be like, how can I just make the song big no matter what?
Yeah.
But I think that song is cool. I love the Naomi Campbell getting a little feature talking about how cool the woman actually is, speaking the perfect French and stuff like that. I thought that was very funny. But that song is built to be huge. You know, it's got the electric guitar, the synths, it's got the big bombastic, like, you know, almost like wall of sound type of effect that's going on to it. Even a little spookiness at the end that kind of reminded me of The Weeknd. A lot of this album reminds me of what The Weeknd was doing on his latest album as well. But I love that track. This is track number 2 for me. My second favorite track when it comes to this entire thing. But this was where the rubber met the road in the terms of, we're talking about expansive production. She likes big, right? And we're gonna make it almost like a throwback in that sense, and having like almost like voguing part of it to be part of the
That's what it feels like. Like, listen, if I was a voguer, this feels like the song.
Yeah, because
like,
even at the end, this is like at what, 4 minutes and like 40 seconds, you get like boom, doo, doo, which I thought was gonna do, I can't remember the hip hop song that starts with that. It's like dun 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 dun.
Can't think of it.
But I will find it and send it for the audio. But yeah, I thought that, I don't know, that's one of the best songs just because there's so many elements coming together and meshing perfectly.
The last, I guess, 30 seconds of this song feels like a scene from Sex and the City. Like pick any show that they go to.
This is like the runway scene.
Yes. Any even when Carrie gets on the runway, like this is like any of those. Like this also could be a drinking game for this podcast. Drink if we mention Sex and the City.
I know.
Drink if we mention Drake. So that's kind of what it felt like to me. My last production, this is actually my favorite song on here.
Okay.
And I didn't realize the second time, but when the song came on, I was like, oh, this is kind of like my type of 90s pop. And it's Pretend You're God.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, this is like the 90s pop that I was super, super into. If you catch me at karaoke, like this is the kind of song that I would give a whirl. But
little hip hop influence on the drums in that song.
Definitely like a hip hop drum influence, but it reminded me of like kind of the boy band era of drums, where I felt like all the big pop songs were either like ballads by either Mariah Carey or Boyz II Men, or it was like the boy band era. Like it was like almost felt like no in between. This felt like a little bit of that era to me. But what I realized from this song, and you know, you talk about Every Girl You've Ever Loved, Walk of Fame, Golden Burning Sun. These are all hit songs from a different time.
Right.
Like none of these sound like what hit songs sound like today. And I think that's kind of the genius of what she does here, because I think these could be hit songs today. They don't sound like other things.
Yeah.
But I feel like she can just make them hit songs because of the power of her voice. So Pretend You're God is one of those for me.
Yeah, I'm really big on this track. I think that, like I mentioned, the drums, there's like a hip hop influence, which you know, it's so funny. Like the earlier portions of Miley's career were hip hop. So to hear it reemerge so late in her career is really interesting. I think that this song is one of those that, you're right, it kind of like epitomizes like a hit song from a previous time. And I think that she's made a really good effort in maintaining that, because her voice fits that time period actually. Yeah. We mentioned this like off the pod, but because of her voice, right? Her voice makes her sound older than she actually is.
Yes.
Her voice sounds like a 45 50-year-old, chain smoker that's singing these songs when she's in fact 31, right? So she's able to reach into the past and pull out these things that most other artists would not be able to because they don't have the voice yet to match it. Obviously, as people age, their voice changes, right? And that's how you get like songs sounding so different later in the careers. Like a great example is somebody like Drake.
Yeah.
If you listen to a Drake song or a Drake rap song today versus So Far Gone or like a Take Care, it's so drastically different. And I think that she is able to like, okay, I already have like the older sounding voice, so I can make these songs where my voice aesthetically fits in ways that people today it would not, right? And because it's like an older dynamic she's bringing to younger people, it's like fresh. Like I feel like it's fresh in a lot of ways.
Because it's not heard that much.
Yeah, you don't really like. I can't really think of like a new artist that is really making a song like this one, Pretend You're God. So it allows her to do really interesting stuff. I wish this song, this album, only has 2 features on it, and one of them is Naomi Campbell. So I'm like, I'm getting a little bit curious on who would even be brought into her sphere now, because I'm not really seeing a contemporary, maybe somebody that's older.
Yeah, I don't really see any person that fits into these features. Like I think The Weeknd is a good name for some of these, but I think she's one of the artists who her voice is so distinct that it's like it would have to be a real true ballad for some of these records. Just having a feature on here just does not fit some of the time. So I don't really see anyone who could be a fit here.
Yeah,
comments, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Another place where I'm talking about the voice really stands out to me. Or actually, I want to do one more thing for production before we transition over to the songwriting, which I want to connect with the voice because that's really important. Her voice is super important. There is this one song. I promise you, this is very, very short because this is just something that really got to me, and I just want the listeners out there to tune into this. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, that piano riff
What song is this?
This is on More to Lose.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to give you 1:28. That and like that sequence reminds me of, this is a deep cut. The intro song for 16.
Whoa.
I could not, like, it could not escape me.
I don't even think Miley Cyrus knows that show.
Like, that's
like there's no way she knows that show.
Isn't that like the exact intro?
No,
like,
it is like 16. That's an amazing show, by the way.
Which is, Canadian classic.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is a deep cut because that's a Canadian TV show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that exact sequence, it's literally just missing time to hang with all my friends. So yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. I wonder if anybody else on planet Earth is catching that, because I felt like it was just me. And I tried to Google it and nobody was talking about that.
The fact that you brought up a 16 reference, I don't know. That was not on my bingo card for 2025. Like, I haven't thought about that show in years. Great show. Love the show.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so
I've thought about it in years.
So more on her voice, and this is actually to connect with the lyrics in this entire project, is Something Beautiful. I think that her voice, again, the raspiness and like how old it sounds, makes it very well suited for like these old school R&B songs, these old school soul songs, where so much of her vocal control and the fact that she knows it's raspy and how to end certain words in specific ways and certain consonants and stuff like that has really become something that is kind of amazing to listen to. It's really dexterous. And the song that really a portion that really punctuates it is the first verse, where she goes, "Tell me something beautiful tonight until your lips turn blue. Said I don't want to talk about it for too long, but baby, now I think I do. Right? Water to red wine, kissing to kill time. Oh my, yeah. watching the doves cry into the sunshine, right? I think that I don't know, I think her dexterity when it comes to her voice now is like getting to a very interesting space where she has been doing this for literally over a decade now, 9 albums, where she knows the certain ways to bend and the certain ways to use the raspiness where it actually is an accentuator versus something that is taking away or limiting her.
Yeah, she's like leaned into it where it's like actually a positive in her music, especially because she didn't always sound like that.
No,
you know, so it's like this could be something where you're like, oh, she's sounding a little different now. It's not what we're used to. It's like, no, this actually is a better, I think, vocal performance than she's had in the past. So yeah, I'm very much into it.
She was kind of fighting it in the past. She wanted to sound more clear, I felt like, on her earlier music. But now she's accepted more of like what she sounds like genuinely. Because that's how she sings now is actually how she sounds like when she speaks.
And I think that's like a push and pull coming from the actual perception of her as a celebrity. Like when you're a child star, it's almost like they try and keep you a child even longer than normal. You know, I think someone like Olivia Rodrigo in the present is such a rare like person in that way where she was, you know, seen as like young teenager for like a couple albums. And now it's like, no, she's an adult now. Like we're just over it. And I feel like in the past that was not the case. You know, you had to like come out as an adult in some weird way. So
yeah.
I feel like, you know, she's grown into it now. There's this one line or one section on More to Lose that I always kind of caught my ear every time I heard it. Because I think even though I think she's a really good songwriter, why I'm only showing this section is because it's very similar to how she's been writing for the past few years or the past few albums. I don't really see the huge change in the songwriting style and some of the content for sure. Again, she talks about healing on this project. But the actual style itself, I think, feels very similar. So my one set lyrics, More to Lose, verse 2, she says, "The TV's on, but I don't know. My tears are streaming like our favorite show tonight. Memories fade like denim jeans. I try to chase when you're running through my mind. 'Cause God, you're looking like..." It's like those two similes in there are like a little cringy to me.
Oh.
Tears streaming like our favorite show tonight. It catches the ear, but it feels a little corny. And then memories fade like denim jeans. And I think why this stands out to me is because, you know, there was a time when Miley Cyrus was hip hop adjacent.
Yes, she was.
There was that time.
Michael made it. Shout out to.
I saw on a list recently that they had that as one of the 100 best rap songs of the decade.
Which one?
With her and Michael, 23.
23.
And I was like, Miley Cyrus being on this list at all just feels crazy.
Is that or isn't that a good song though?
No, not a good song. Not a good song. Comments, let us know.
I think 23 might be a good song, guys.
No. This is almost like when you were trying to defend... Chris, what was the song you were trying to defend from Kendrick? Humble?
Yeah.
Humble and 23 are in the same boat.
That's the disrespect.
No, I'm telling you, if you're at a party and you hear those play, you're probably going to be like, okay, let's find somewhere else to go. Like, that's the honest truth. Like, if I'm somewhere and I hear 23, I'm like, I got to see what you play next before I get out of here. But
I want to hear in the comments, please. Oh my God. And we're going to do this for a TikTok too. Is 23 a good song? Maybe we'll cut a TikTok short about 23.
I would love to see what people think, because I think if you think 23 is a good song, I know the kind of person you are. I know all I need to know.
Wait, you know, like, I mean, is there anything that she is saying in that song that isn't legitimate? I'm in the club chilling with my J's on.
It's not about the lyrics. It's just the cadence doesn't give authentic. And listen, you know I'm a huge Wiz Khalifa fan. Wiz couldn't even save that song. So that lets you know how I really feel, because you know I love Wiz Khalifa. So
I'm going to say 23 is a good song. I think that's a good song.
I know you're going to say it. You're one of those people. You're one of those people.
Oh my God, this guy is looking, wow. You look at me and you see one of those people. I can't believe
You're the one who said you want to hear Humble in the club. And like, so that tells me all I need to know. I've seen Humble live like 7 times.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear it in the club.
Okay,
so
well, that's a you problem.
I'm on the right side of history with that one. But why I'm highlighting this is because I think from someone who spent time in hip hop, these are like the most basic of similes you can give. And I think that what she's trying to say here, it's almost lazy to use, these literary devices.
Right.
And I think she's shown she's capable of more. And I think the person I'm going to compare it to, which I don't think she's on this level, but Stove God Cooks.
Wait, what? What the fuck? See, if anybody's gonna try and tell you Miley Cyrus isn't hip hop, okay, we're talking about Mike Will Made It, Wiz Khalifa, and Stove God Cooks.
Oh my gosh. But he's an artist who, when he has these similes or these metaphors, these literary devices, he finds a way to just take it to a place your brain didn't even think it could go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here, that's not necessary on this record. I think the record is still good, but she's almost doing it in the most basic way. Like, this almost is what you would say when you're like freestyling, streaming like your favorite show, fade like my jeans. So I think I because she's shown she's better than this, and my other set of lyrics that I'm not going to mention was a lot more of this, so I'm going to keep it light here.
Okay.
But I think because I know she's capable of more than this stands out to me as like a problem here on this project.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's I would say that's a low point, but there's too many high points for me to let this rock. Okay, too many high points. As in, I mentioned this on when we were talking earlier about the production, where End of the World. We were talking about how underrated she is as a songwriter. Or like, oh yeah, that song's very, you hear it on the radio. It's really top 40, but then you dig into the lyrics. This is an End of the World. This is verse 1, chorus, verse 2. I'll go through it quickly because. Mm-hmm. The verse is only 4 lines long. So verse 1, today you woke up and you told me that you wanted to cry. The sky was falling like a comet on the 4th of July. Baby, you've been thinking about the future like it's already yours. Show me how you'd hold me if tomorrow wasn't coming for sure. And then this is the chorus. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. Whatever. Okay? Then verse 2, let's spend the dollars you've been saving on the Mercedes-Benz and throw a party like Mike McCarthy with some help from our friends. Yeah, let's go down to Malibu, watch the sun fade out once more. Show me how you'd hold me if tomorrow was coming for sure. So this, you talked about earlier how this album's about healing. And I think that this album, or this song in particular, is about Miley. Like, typically you think when somebody says the phrase end of the world, like it's not the end of the world,
Mm-hmm.
you mean like there's not a problem, it's not a big deal. But the way that she's framing it in verse 1, where it's like, today you woke up and told me that you wanted to cry, the sky was falling like a comet out of the 4th of July. Baby, you've been thinking about the future like it's already yours. Show me you'd hold me if tomorrow wasn't coming for sure. It actually is more of like, things are about to end, but let's just savor the last few moments, you know?
Yeah.
And let's pretend it's not the end of the world is like, let's pretend that things aren't falling apart and going to shambles.
The world is burning, but let's go to Greece.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. It's like, I heard Japan's hot right now. We should take a trip.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really interesting because we're like, oh yeah, this is a top 40 song. And we're like, this song has a flip on a common turn of phrase that most people would not really catch
Mm-hmm.
if they're just listening to it. Like, I had to go back and read the lyrics to really like see what the fuck she was talking about, because I was like, wait, why is she saying it's not the end of the world? Like, I don't get it. And then reading the lyrics back, I'm like, oh, right. And this is on the single, right? So this is what I'm trying to explain. And we've said this before, but I want to reiterate that her songwriting is actually very strong.
Mm-hmm.
She's a good songwriter, even though that it's kind of like disguised.
Yes.
Like, maybe it's something that we're not expecting from Miley.
Mm-hmm.
So that we're like, oh yeah, whatever, it's like a pop song. But if you actually listen to her songs and read the lyrics, they're actually about shit. And I think that this is a great example of one of those.
I think she's always been a good songwriter. Like, even her early pop stuff, like, I remember making a case many, many years ago that Party in the USA was a greatly written song.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I think like she just hasn't had that reputation, and she may never get that reputation, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But she's always been a good songwriter. Do you have any other lyrics to show us?
Oh, okay. Since I'm gonna get ISO right here, something that one of my favorite things in this entire album was on Every Girl You've Ever Loved, and I think I mentioned this slightly earlier with Naomi Campbell, where Naomi Campbell basically is like, hold on, pose. She has the perfect scent. She speaks the favorite. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me say that again. Pose. She has the perfect scent. Baby, don't you want me? Pose. She speaks the perfect French. I don't know what that is. Respectfully, I'm not French Canadian. You know, I'm just. I don't know what the perfect French is, but I just love that she keeps bringing it up. Like, this is in the bridge. She wears a watch. Still, she never. Sorry, let me start over. She never wears a watch. She's still never late. She's got that kind of grace. She did Botticelli paint her face. She has the perfect scent. She speaks the perfect French. She could dance the night away. And still, she'll never break a sweat. Pose. 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 I just like, that's very, like, I don't know why, but that just like gripped me when I was listening to the song. I'm like, what is the perfect French? I need somebody to explain that to me.
Well, it's French from France. Like, it's not Canadian French. That's the main point. It's not Canadian French.
I guess
it's real French.
But yeah, I thought that was just interesting. Also, to have, like, again, the pose is like a voguing section that we were talking about as well. So there is, like I said, like, the songwriting is intriguing in very good ways, in ways that you would not expect. Naomi Campbell, I wonder what kind of string she pulled to get Naomi Campbell to do this. But yeah, I think the songwriting is really good. And I mentioned a couple of things in passing as well. I think that, you know, Miley, I don't know, she's just like something else, man. Even on Reborn, like, I don't want to just keep listing off the lyrics, but like, even on Reborn, where she's like, if heaven exists, I've been there before.
That was a good one.
Yeah, kill my ego, let's be reborn. If heaven exists, I've been there before. Kill my ego, let's be reborn. Let's be reborn. Give me all your love. Give me all your love. Let's be reborn. Give me all your love. Can never get enough. Right? So, Miley Cyrus, extremely famous. I would say one of the more famous people. Like I said, she one of the probably I don't know. Maybe her and Bieber are like the most famous millennials. I'm trying to think of other millennials. But
yeah, probably.
Yeah, so the idea of like, if heaven exists, I've been there before is kind of like a play on her fame and how famous that she's been and the things that she's been able to do. But she says to kill my ego, let's be reborn. So we were talking about like the fact that she's still trying to be, or still is, being a musician when she could just like be a famous person is something that is really interesting to me as well. So I think that, again, lots of things to pull from. Great songwriter, doing great work. How did you feel about the aesthetic overall?
I don't think there was really a cohesive feel to this album, even though there's a ton of, you know, anthemic songs.
Did you like the interludes? Interlude 1 is something, bro.
In Interlude 1, I was like, this is going to be Démar's favorite song.
Did you really think that? Interlude 1? Am I that readable? What is it about me that you're able to already determine what's going to be my favorite song?
I don't know, man.
Maybe it's the distortion.
I could just smell it. I don't know. I could just sense it.
Maybe it's
I like both the interludes. This album didn't have that kind of like cohesive theme to me sonically. I didn't really feel that, but I think it's still good overall. But like aesthetically, I don't know what kind of direction is heading in. But I want to kind of hold off on judging the direction because there's a film coming.
Okay,
you know, and to be fair, it cannot be worse than The Weeknd's film. So I have high hopes in that sense. So maybe everything will come together once I see the film. But
who dropped the latest good? Who released the best album, movie and album tandem? Beyonce?
Someone more recent than Beyonce. I feel like Tyler had a good one for Cherry Bomb. I'm trying to think. There's somebody else. There's somebody.
It might be Beyonce, legitimately.
No, there's something more recent that I can't remember right now.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
But yeah, I think aesthetically remains to be seen. What this means for her career, I think this is probably still a plus. I think like her reputation is intact.
Yeah.
That's how I look at artists like her. Like we talked about it a bit before, of where like the perception of still being poppin' and popular is more important than anything else. Think about how many reviews we've done where the album is good and we're like, do people know this album is actually good?
Right.
You know, and I think like that's kind of where we are in the music business today is 9 times out of 10, people are not going to know if your album is good or not. They're going to know if it flopped or not.
Right.
That's what you're being measured as. So Reputation still intact.
Yeah, I think that overall the aesthetic is solid. I think the grandiose nature of her singing is matched, especially by the prelude, like the first track, where she's just speaking in this very ominous way. Is really interesting, and I feel like it continues all the way through, especially at the end where it starts to get a little bit more dynamic in the production style. I think that overall for her career, this is a plus. I think that more good Miley Cyrus music will just like further cement her as an artiste.
Yes.
Right? I think that her music, again, I think at the beginning, the transition from Disney teen star to artist was hard. That was hard for her. Like to give it real, like now looking back on it, that was probably traumatic.
Probably, but she killed it though. Yeah,
but she did make the crossover. So now she's just doing what she wants, trying to maximize the artistic value and everything that she does. I think that I think that's really solid. Is it a no skips though?
No, definitely not.
No?
No.
Which song are you skipping? Go ahead.
I'm skipping some of these anthems, man.
Which ones?
Like, I think I'm you know what? Reborn, I'm probably gonna skip. End of the World, I'll probably skip, honestly. I think here's my reason why it's not a no skips, because I feel like why I hesitated is that there are not any actually like really bad songs on here.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, do I really want to hear this?
Okay.
You know, a lot of songs have that quality where it's like, once I hear one, I think I got my fix. You know, it's like once I hear End of the World, do I need to hear More to Lose? You know? So I think that is kind of a quality this album has, is where these songs are not samey that much, but it's almost too much of an anthem.
Okay.
Where it's like, okay, we don't need to scream the whole album.
Yeah, I think for me, it is a no skips. But here's a caveat to this no skips. You got to be in the mood. You got to be in the mood. That's
not a no skips, man.
Like, you got to be. No, here's the thing. No. It's gonna make sense when I give it the score.
Land it.
I think you're not okay. It's not the same. I'm not saying it's the same caliber as this album,
okay, right?
But it's the same. But it's the same effect. To Pimp a Butterfly, you have to be in a mood to put on To Pimp a Butterfly. But we're like, To Pimp a Butterfly, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 album, right? But you got to be in a space. You're not casually throwing on You,
but
by Kendrick Lamar. You know, you're not casually throwing on King Kunta. That's not something you do.
Well, here's the difference I think in those two albums. Before we even talk about the cover, is like, that album has more range, where it's like, I need to be in a mood for it, like, thematically, but there are enough songs that are different where it's like, okay, I can bounce around here. It's like, there's like 5 songs on here that are made for you to like yell in a stadium.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm not in the mood to yell, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a different thing. Cause like, when you have to be in a mood sonically rather than thematically, you can passively listen to an album. I think To Pimp a Butterfly has that quality. I don't think
so. To Pimp a Butterfly, passive listen?
It so much of the jazz. Like, okay, it can be, like, if you want to go listen and take out your notebook, your dictionary, be my guest.
Okay.
But you can put it on in the background just for the music of it alone. An album like this, there's not really a passive listen. I think when an album doesn't have a passive listen in it, it loses some points for me. And it's like, you trying to have this in the background and you'll have to turn it down because you know, so it's like, that to me is when you say like you got to be in the mood, it's like I have to be in the mood to pay attention and sing along.
Right.
I can't just put it on while I'm doing something else. So
this is going up at karaoke though. This album, More to Lose?
Yes, technically yes.
Yeah, I think it's going up at
But
karaoke.
how many people are going to be put this on at karaoke? I feel like if this actually comes on at karaoke, most people are
what?
If this comes on at karaoke, most people are going to be like, I don't know what this is. You know, like no one's singing along with you. You're on your own.
Yeah, but I think the songs are very singable.
Yes,
that's what I'm getting at. Like the songs are very, very singable. Like you want to sing her songs, which I think is a plus.
Because you're not going to see them on tour, so.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, how do you feel about the cover?
It kind of reminds me, it's kind of Lady Gaga-ish.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. I'm gonna hold back. The cover is gonna be unranked for me, unrated,
Wow.
because I'm waiting to see this film.
Okay.
Okay, the film may make this cover make sense. As of now, this cover makes no sense to me. I don't really like it.
Right.
But I'm gonna hold off judgment until we see this amazing film by Miley Cyrus.
Okay. I think that the cover, it's interesting. It definitely is intriguing. It catches the eye. The fact that she's like covered in like these crystals is intriguing. I don't know if I love it. I wish it was better lit, but it feels, or it seems like it's from the movie. Like this is like a still from the movie, and you're gonna see her doing like a similar pose in the movie and be like, oh, there's album cover. You know what I mean? So I wish it was a little bit better lit in general, but it's intriguing to look at. It definitely is intriguing to look at, so I will give it that. Okay. Is it an album cop, though? Vinyl cop.
This on vinyl, absolutely not for me.
No?
Absolutely not.
I feel like this is made for vinyl. Maybe we're on two different ends of the spectrum here. I feel like this album is made for vinyl.
I think when I think about vinyl, I think about I can just let this album play. And you could have said no skips. I said it's not no skips. So that's probably why. But I'm like, if I want to get up and go to my vinyl player and like move the needle, then I don't want to get this vinyl.
Okay.
You know, so this is not a vinyl cop for me.
Okay. I'll put it down as a vinyl cop. I did look into it. I looked into it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay. The moment everybody's been waiting for. Adriel, what is your score for Miley Cyrus's Something Beautiful?
For her 9th album, I'm giving this a 6 out of 10.
Wow.
This album is good.
The slide is real. What did you give Plastic Hearts?
6.5, I believe. 6.5, yeah. So, you know.
And then you gave it what? What did you give the other one? I can't remember the name of it.
The 2023 album?
Yeah.
6.5. So
okay.
2.6.
Okay, so she's hovering.
She's hovering. This album to me, I feel like I didn't love the music on here is not bad, but there isn't that song on here that I'm like, yo, y'all gotta hear this. And I think that the lack of cohesiveness on this project, when you have so many songs that are like similar in a vein, is kind of odd to me. That doesn't happen often where you have 4 or 5 songs that feel similar, but the album's not cohesive.
Right.
That's like a unique situation we have going on here. So for me, it's a 6 out of 10. Will it be showing up on my end of the year list? No.
Okay.
Not Vinyl Cop, no skips, no, but decent project.
Okay. For me, for Miley Cyrus's Something Beautiful, I went back and forth on this. Back and forth. But I think I've landed. This is an 8 out of 10. This is really good.
Wow.
I think that the production style is fantastic. I think that the grandiose elements of just like her music, her persona, is being capitalized properly. Songs like even the interlude where there's literally no lyrics, it's just this crazy instrumental, I think is cool. We mentioned like these 80s synths, like retro aesthetics that she was able to get to, but also matching her voice with this older sound, which is something other people cannot do because she has an old sounding voice. And she has the musical acumen to actually perceive that and actually execute that.
Yeah.
Which is also something that should be lauded. We mentioned her songwriting is fantastic. One of the songwriters is very underrated. We'll continue to say this. I feel like we say it every album.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to say it because I think that nobody else says that. Her songwriting is really, really solid. Even a song like Easy Lover, love the hook.
Yeah.
Lots of really good hooks in this. Reborn has a good hook as well. I just think it's a lot of good stuff. Nothing mind-blowing because, again, she's reappropriating these older styles, these older aesthetics. But I think it's anthemic. The singing is very interesting, very, very, like it's very inquisitive. Like I always want to hear more of like what she's gonna do with her vocals, and the production style is going well, right? So I think that the only drawback for me is that song like it can become too anthemic, like it's too much, like you have to be in a mood to have it on, and it definitely feels like you listen to it and you feel like, you know, you're definitely surrendering to it a little bit in a way that you don't have to do to other albums. So it's an 8 out of 10. It's good. I think it's really good. I'm kind of impressed. And I think I've said this on pretty much every Miley Cyrus album we've reviewed, where I'm like, This is surprisingly very good.
This is your highest rated Miley Cyrus album.
Yeah, I think it, but I genuinely feel that way. I think it's very good. And I think that she is a good artist. Like, I think she just makes solid music now, very good music now, and is being recognized as such later on in her career. Again, she's only 31, so it's not like she's at the end of the line. But we've definitely seen the ebbs and flows of Miley Cyrus's musical career. And I would say we're at the flows. We're in the flows part as things are going nice right now.
I'm very interested to see what people think. I want you guys to get in the comments. Let us know. You can comment on Spotify now. You can comment on YouTube. Listen, we're on two different sides here. We both said the album's good.
Yeah.
But two different scores. So who you sided more with? You sided more with me, giving it a 6. Démar giving it an 8. Or maybe we're both wrong and you're giving it a 10. Let us know that as well. You can find us on all your interwebs at Album Mode Pod, on Twitter, Album Mode Pod, on Instagram, Album Mode Pod, on TikTok. Of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, okay? If you listen to the podcast, hop over to YouTube, subscribe to us there. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later days.